it's Hallie here. Welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a hot second since I posted, maybe almost 2 weeks, but school has been a lot. I'm taking so many writing classes, but they're not writing classes. It's just classes that involve a ton of writing, like literature course, philosophy, mythology courses. So I've been doing a lot of that. And I've been reading a ton, so I haven't really had time to film a video, but I'm getting to it now, and today I'm going to be doing the best and worst book tropes. But anyways, before we get started with this video, I just wanted to ask you guys to subscribe to my channel and to like this video. I just hit 900 subscribers, so thank you guys so much. Now I only need like 90 more, 89 more to hit 1,000, and then I'll be able to make community posts. Like, I'm really excited, and it'd be super cool if you guys got me to 1,000 subscribers. It'd be super fun. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for getting me to 900 and for enjoying the content that I make. That's it for that. So let's get into this video of the best and worst tropes in books. Okay, so I have them all on my little iPad right here. I'm gonna try to get through this kind of quickly because my iPad is only on 4% battery, and I'm gonna give you guys some examples when I talk about the tropes that I like a lot, because I do have examples for them, but not for the ones that are like, I have the best tropes. I have tropes that are like in the middle that can sometimes be good and sometimes be bad. And then I have absolute worst book tropes. So I'm not gonna give examples for the ones in the middle or that are bad because I don't really have examples for them. Like, why would I go read a book that's marketed as a trope that I don't like? Like, I wouldn't do that, so I don't have any examples. Okay, first, my favorite trope of all time is rivals to lovers. Literally any sorts of rivals to lovers I will enjoy, like sports rivals, academic rivals, business rivals, like all of it. It's so good. Most books that are marketed as enemies to lovers are usually just rivals to lovers, which is why it's my favorite. Like, I love enemies to lovers as well, but it's not the same as rivals to lovers. It's just something about the absolute rage of the other person besting them mixed with the tension and like sexual attraction that's like a competent kink that they both obviously have. They're both super competitive, but they also think it's super attractive that the other person is so good at what they're doing, and it just mixes so well, and it's always so like steamy and good, and I don't know, there's just something about it that hits. An example of rivals to lovers that I enjoyed would be First Position by Melissa Brayden, and it is a ballerina rivals to lovers. It's super good. I really loved it, and rivals to lovers is one of the best tropes out there. Next, which kind of falls with rivals to lovers but is not always rivals to lovers, is sports romance. If you know me, you know that I adore sports romance books. They hit so good. I don't know what it is. Like, I have only played 2 sports in my life. I played volleyball for like 8 years, and then I played tennis for like 7 years, and I was real invested in both of them, especially tennis. I like tournaments, medals, screaming matches. It was crazy. But those are the only sports I ever played, and I've never read a volleyball book or a tennis book ever. But there's something about sports romances that just go so hard. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, and it's always the game scenes that are like the coolest scenes in the book. Like, I'm like so tense and like anxiety ridden because I'm like, oh my God, who's gonna win this? Who's gonna get it? Like, I'm so terrified, but also so excited. Like, it's crazy. Like, in real life, if I am watching a sport, if it is not volleyball or tennis, I do not care. I don't know what's going on. I do not care. I'm so bored. Like, the only time I know when to cheer when a football match is on is when some guy starts running real fast and my dad starts cheering. So I don't know what it is, but it has me in a chokehold. And I would say a good example of a good sports romance is Check Please, which is a graphic hockey novel, and it is just adorable. Like, hello. One thing about sports romances is that it's always better when both people that are part of the romance play the sport. It's not as good when it's just one person playing the sport. Like, it just has to be both of them to make it like tense and like it usually has the rivals to lovers when they both play the sport. But I'll take it if they play different sports or like just one plays the sport, but I'll begrudgingly take it. Like, I want both of them to play. Okay, so next is a trope that not everyone enjoys in their romances. And I just want to preface this by saying this is not real life, it's fiction. And for me, fiction should not mirror real life, like, always. It doesn't have to always be realistic and like what I would want out of a relationship. Like, in books, when I read a romance, I want the characters' problems, I want every single one of them to be solved by romance. I want them to be soulmates, like perfect for each other. And I realize that is not how real life works. I know that. Like, I understand. But there's something about fiction that I want to get out of. Like, I want to get out of fiction that I won't ever get out of real life. And I know that I'm not gonna get that out of real life, but I still think it like hits really good when it's ink on paper. But that is jealousy and possessive trope. Like, I'm sorry, jealousy, possessiveness, and protectiveness are always so hot in books. Like, it is so, it makes me so happy because it's like they're willing to die for and kill for the person that they love. Like, and it's like the possessiveness, like, you're mine, like, sorry, it hits. And like, it obviously doesn't hit when it's not reciprocated, but when it's reciprocated and they're like, I'm yours, like, that just hits. And possessiveness, like, oh, if someone else like kisses the love interest or the main character and then the other one just like punches them, I'm sorry, it goes so hard. But a really good example of that is Tristix's Venom. So cute. Actually not cute, it's very a lot. Next is mutual pining. A romance does not hit if it is one-sided. I'm sorry. And especially if it's girl obsessing over boy in a straight romance. Like, I think it's me projecting and thinking that a girl obsessing over a boy one-sided, unrequited is embarrassing, because it is. When you're a girl obsessing over a boy and it's unrequited, it's embarrassing. So I tend to stray a little away from those kinds of books. But mutual pining hits. And we really can only see like mutual pining in books with dual point of view. So whether it be like a fantasy with a romance in it or just a romance, I always think that dual point of view makes a book better. Like, I just want to see more than one point of view in a book. And this is very hypocritical of me because the book I'm writing right now at 85,000 words is a single point of view book. My next one's going to be dual point of view, but this one is single point of view. But I just think that any book with a dual point of view is 1,000 times better than a single point of view. It's always better to see both characters obsessing over each other in their own points of view, and we get that in The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams, which is a new release. As you can see, it is also a sports romance. Next is roommates to lovers, and this is probably my second favorite trope after rivals to lovers. There's something about roommates to lovers, like the close proximity, especially if they don't really like each other or they're like best friends, Like, it just hits so good. It's something about both of the characters always knowing what the other is doing that just like gets me. Like, if they have someone over, the other character knows and they're so jealous and like they have to leave, like they have to get out of there. Like, it's just so good. And I've really only read a few books that are roommates to lovers. So if you have any good recommendations, I would love to know because I am obsessed with it. But one of my favorite roommates to lovers book is the Flatshare, and it is incredible. Next is Friends with Benefits, which is like my third favorite trope. There's just something about friends with benefits to lovers. Best friends with benefits to lovers probably hits even more hard than regular friends with benefits to lovers, because it's just something about like they don't want to have feelings for each other and it keeps happening and they're having sex and it's like, and it's making it so hard and they still want to have sex with each other, but the feelings are getting in the way and they think the other person isn't gonna have the same feelings, and it just is so messy and good, and like the passion and the heartbreak that comes from it is just excellent. Like, it's so good, and like I can't even describe how much I love Friends with Benefits. Like, you have the sex part, which is always an incredible part of romance books. Like, you can say what you want, but the smut and the sex scenes like make the book. Like, all the steamy buildup leads to that, and it's just like perfect. And then you have the overwhelming feelings and like falling in love. Like, you get to see them like, holy shit, this is bad, I'm in love with them. Perfect. And a good example of that is The Roommate. Next is Childhood Best Friends to Lovers. And yes, this is completely different from Friends to Lovers, or even Best Friends to Lovers, which still hits, but Childhood Best Friends to Lovers is perfect. Like, they don't want to ruin what they have, but they're so far gone, or they've been pining for years keeping quiet because they're like, being friends with you is better than not having you at all. And it's just, it gives me goosebumps. Like, the feelings are so like strong that when they finally get together, it's like fireworks and explosions, which is like perfect. And a good example of that, which this isn't an individual book that you can get into just like out of the bat without reading anything else. Like, you have to read like a trillion books to get to this book, but it's worth it. But Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare, which is the sequel series to The Mortal Instruments, it just hits. Like, best friends, childhood best friends to lovers is everything to me, and they are what did it for me. Like, they created that monster inside of me when I was 15. So super cool, fun, obsessed. Next are a couple of tropes that aren't really like big tropes, but they're more like niche tropes within bigger ones. So they're a little more obscure and just like little scenes instead of the big tropes that make up an entire book. And so I would have to say two of them really get me. And okay, no, I'll do three of them. Okay, so first, and it is so perfect, is the trope where the characters get stuck in an elevator together, and it's either that they really hate each other and they don't want to be stuck in the elevator together, and they are so pissed that they have to be that close to each other, the forced proximity, delicious, or that one of them is super scared of elevators and like freaks out, and the other one comforts them, which is even more perfect if they hate each other. But it just hits. Like, it's close space, forced proximity, not a desirable situation, like no one wants to be in it ever, and it just is, it's so good, especially when there's a kiss. Like, like on the elevator walls, like hello, it's so good, so perfect. It is only ruined when there's other people in the elevator when it stops. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm not into like voyeurism, so like having like a tense like scene between each other stuck in an elevator with other fucking people, like it's not gonna hit as well as them being stuck alone together. But book that I have with an elevator scene is The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata, and it's pretty good. There's other people in the elevator, but it's not like a steamy scene, obviously. It's just like a comforting scene. And it's really, really cute, and I loved it so much. But perfect elevator trope, adore it. Next is when characters take care of each other when they're sick. Like, one character takes care of the other one, and it is perfect. And like, it just opens up like for falling in love. And I have 2 books that did it absolutely perfectly. But The Hating Game with Josh and Lucy, I just reread this because I read a terrible, terrible book that I hated. And I just needed to rectify that situation with something that I knew would still be good no matter how many times I've read it. And The Hating Game does that for me. The 6th scene lasts for so long, and she's so out of it and dizzy, and he's taking care of her and carrying her to her apartment, and he helps her clean up, and like, oh, it's perfect. It's so perfect. He stays with her all night and calls his brother, who's a doctor, and it's so good. Like, that's when you know he's in love with her. And then also from Lukov with Love by Mariana Zapata had an incredible 6th scene, and I will never ever forget the quote. And she's super like out of it and hazy, and she wakes up and she feels a glass being pressed to her lips, and Ivan just saying, "Drink it, baby." Like, like it's so good. And I just am obsessed with it. Like, it's something about the nurturing of it all is incredible. Okay, and for the tropes in the middle. So this means that I like them. No, this means that I can like them. Like, I can enjoy them and probably like them if they're written well. Like, it has to be written a certain way, and I don't even know how to describe the ways that I would want it to be written, but I can get behind it if I enjoy like the bigger picture. So first, obviously, there's cheating trope, someone cheating. It has to be someone cheating on someone they're already with for the love interest. If it is the person, if it's like the main character cheating on the love interest, or the love interest cheating on them, it doesn't hit. I'm like, this isn't cute, this isn't romantic, like, I don't like it at all. Like, it has to be someone that is not going to be of importance for the romance of the book. Next is second chance trope, and I don't know. I have not read very many books with it because it just doesn't sound super appealing to me. I think the closest I've read a second chance trope of has been People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. And that was barely second chance, and it also had childhood best friends, not childhood best friends, but best friends to lovers, and like mutual pining. So I know that Sally Thorne wrote Second First Impressions, but I don't know if that's a second chance trope book or not, and she wrote The Hating Game, which is my favorite romance of all time. So I don't know. I'd have to look into it, but if it's done right, I think I could enjoy it. There are not very many books with this trope, but Beth trope, I have not read very many. It's probably mostly like Wattpad books and then After, and I think the After books, the Beth is worse and more like, yikes. And in the movie, you're like, okay, that's not too bad. Like, it's just, he tried to see if he could make her fall in love with him, and he fell in love with her. Like, it's not that bad. In the books, it was bad, but they changed it for the movies to make it a little more acceptable. And I think they did that well, but in the books, it was not very good. And it would just depend on how it's written, what the bet is, like, it just depends. Bully romances. Okay, I used to hate bully romances, but I'm like coming around to it, and Tristix's Venom is a bully romance, and I'm obsessed with it, and I thought it was super like good and hot and sexy, but there's certain criteria that it has to meet. Like, I don't know if I would like it if it was a boy and a girl. I don't know. My friend wants me to read Bully by Penelope Douglas, which is a bully romance, obviously. So I'll figure it out when I read that. But it just depends. It depends. It has to be written very well. I would hate a super big power dynamic in the bully romance. Like, it just has to be written to my tastes, and I barely even know how to describe like what my tastes would be. Like, if I read it and it's good, it's good. If I read it and it's bad, it's bad. Like, it just depends. And it has to be well written. It cannot be written like a 13-year-old writing a bully romance on Wattpad. Like, I cannot have like someone like shoving someone against the lockers and then 2 seconds later they're like calling her like sweetheart or darling or baby. Like, I can't do it. It's cringe when that happens. But if it's written well, then I can enjoy it. Friends to lovers. It is a slippery slope with friends to lovers. I love best friends to lovers and childhood best friends to lovers because of the closeness. If it's just friends, like regular friends, there's no like desperate undertones to it. And it's more often than not boring. Like, I'm sorry, regular friends to lovers does not have any like spice to it unless it's written well. Like, it has to have some other sort of thing to it. Like, it cannot just be friends to lovers. Like, I don't think that would hit very good at all. Okay, and that is it for the ones in the middle. So now we're getting to tropes that if I hear that they are written with this trope, that I won't read it. I won't pick it up because I hate this trope, and I don't think I don't like any of these. I would never pick it up. I did with one of them, and it was really good, but because of some outlying factors. So first, love triangles. I despise love triangles. I think it makes it terrible. I want my romance to be between 2 people, or I'll get to that, 3, but usually 2, and no outside feelings for someone else. I don't want any cloudy judgment of like, who am I gonna pick? Like, whatever. I liked it when I was 11 and it was Team Edward and Team Jacob, and Edward won. And I loved him. So I was on board with that one. And then Team Gale, Team PETA, I was on Team PETA and PETA won. So like, yeah, I have too many rage issues for love triangles. And if the character that I like, oh my God, that scared the shit out of me. My neighbors are loud. If the character I like doesn't win, I go crazy and feral. So I cannot read love triangles. Like, I get too invested and it is too much. But with Legendborn by Tracy Deonn, which I just finished, there is a possibility of a polyamorous relationship between Bree, Nick, and Cell rather than it being a love triangle. And that is what I want to happen. There's a bunch of quotes of them like oathing themselves to each other, and this is how it will be now, the 3 of us. Like, there's hinting towards a polyamorous relationship, which I will accept this if that happens, and I will not accept a love triangle, or I will go crazy and stupid, because I know that the person I'm rooting for in that love triangle won't win, and I'll be filled with unreasonable amounts of rage. Next is age gap. I hate age gap tropes. I don't like it. I think it's gross. I am not attracted to old men, and it's always old men. It is always like 45-year-old dudes, and like, man, I'm 21. I am If you say the words silver fox to me, I'm out. I'm gone. And like, Mariana Zapata, she catfishes me every time. She never says in the descriptions of her book that it's age gap or that it's old men in her books. And then I read them and it's like, oh, his gray hair. And I'm like, what? Because it's so gross to imagine. And then I just have to picture someone who is not old for the rest of the entire book to make it bearable. Like when I am like 35 or 40, I'm not gonna care. I'm gonna want to read about those books. But right now I am 21 and I do not want to read about old men and 20-year-old women, because that's me, 20-year-old women, and it's so gross. Like, I don't want to be reading the things my mom reads right now. Like, I'm out of here. No, thank you. All right. This one's gonna ruffle some feathers. But listen. It doesn't hit. It doesn't hit. And if you say it hits, I'm calling the police. But incest. Okay, this can be extended to stepbrothers because people think it's okay, or adoptive siblings, people think it's okay. And they're like, they're not related, they're not blood related. And a lot of the time, these people were raised together as siblings, which is not a romantic relationship at all. At all. It's disgusting. And that's why Clare and Jace from the Mortal Instruments do not hit. Like, they had you thinking for 2 entire books that they were siblings. 2 entire books. And they kissed and were attracted to each other for 2 entire books while thinking that they were siblings. It may not sound bad when you're like, but they're not actually siblings. They're not. They thought they were. They thought they were blood related, and they made out and rolled around on the ground together. Like, I'm sorry. I can't do it. It just, nope. It's bad. It's all bad. All right. This isn't like a whole entire book unless it's based around it, which I would never even pick it up in the first place. But pregnancy trope, I hate it. I'm sorry. I don't like it. I don't like people being pregnant. I don't like the pregnancy drama or pregnancy tests or like the drama that it creates with the baby daddy. Like, I can't. It does not interest me. I never want to have children, and I don't like children. And the idea of being pregnant disgusts me and makes me want to throw up. But it's not interesting relationship drama to me. Like, pregnancy, nah. I'd rather have like a bar fight, someone gets arrested. I'd rather have cheating than pregnancy scares or like being pregnant. And followed by that, I do not like single parent trope. I don't like kids. I think kids ruin the romances, and it happens in real life. That is something of fiction that affects reality. Kids ruin romance. People divorce because of their children. They ruin it, and I don't like reading about it. And I know I was a kid once, and I was awful and terrible, and someone should have put me in line. But I just prefer my romances not having any sort of child or embryo in them. I think it gets in the way. I don't like the story. I love my romances being like, no one matters to me more than you. And that can't happen if there's a child. Obviously, the child is more important than the love interest. And that's how it's supposed to be in real life. That is how it's supposed to be. But in my books, I don't like that. So I just don't pick up books that have single parents or any sort of child in them. And then lastly, I will never, ever pick up a book with this dynamic, and I think it's weird in real life and in books and everywhere, but alpha, beta, omega. I'm sorry, werewolves. I can't. It's so fucking weird. and I don't know. I don't like the idea of furries. You can quote me on that. And I don't think that it is an interesting read. The only thing that comes out of it that would be interesting to me and wouldn't be weird and freaky and make me cringe would be the jealousy and possessiveness part of it. But I'm sorry, I can't read about people that think they're werewolves. I'm sorry, I can't. It's very funny. And when I'm reading it, when I read a romance, I want to be like, oh my god, that's so hot. And if I read an alpha, beta, omega romance, I will just be crying, laughing, and cringing the whole time, which is not what I want from my romances. So I just don't approach any sort of book with that kind of dynamic. And that's just my preference. I don't hate you if that's what you like to read. It's not personal. I just don't like it. Anyways, that is it for my book tropes, best and worst. I just laid it all out for you. You know exactly what type of books that I like now and exactly what type of books that I hate now. Go and destroy me in the comments for indirectly trashing your favorite book. Sure, do what you want, whatever. But yeah, that's just what I prefer when I'm reading and what I don't prefer when I'm reading. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any recommendations of books with the tropes that I liked, please give them to me, please. You can go look at my Goodreads, which is lipstick literature, and like see what I've already read. And if I haven't read your recommendation, please leave it for me, please, especially if it's rivals to lovers, roommates to lovers, or best friends with benefits to lovers. I would love that. Thank you very much. As always, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Get me to 1,000 like I said. But that is it for this video. I will see you guys next week, maybe with books that I've rated 3 stars or less or something like that. I'll figure it out. But until then, I will see you guys later. Bye.